Democratic Alliance says the ANC is the source of the country's electricity crisis. Supporters are gathering to march on the party's headquarters at Luthuli House in Johannesburg. This is to protest the power cuts. DA youth leader Nicholas Nyati says enough is enough.
ANC is not just only killing the economy, but they're literally killing our people, especially young people. Because every time you load shed a business, every time you load shed the country, you are actually load shedding jobs, you are load shedding opportunities that young people so deeply need. There are students currently who are told to study online. How are you expected to study online when there's no electricity? So these are ordinary South Africans who are coming together to join the call by the DA to say, let us go and take back our power. And it's historic. In the history of South Africa, it will go down as the day where citizens stood up against an unjust and uncaring government.
Let's check in with our reporters now, Mbali, Thethani and Ziyanda Ngcobo, who are stationed in two different positions. Ziyanda, let's begin with you this time. And the ANC, is there any way of them shirking responsibility here that they are the reason the country is experiencing severe power cuts, given that this has been going on for 16 years now?
Well, Toli, I'll tell you what, there's been lots of criticism being waged against the Democratic Alliance for wanting to come here to Luthuli House. Those who are here are saying, well, this is actually technically an NGO, but you'll know that the DA is saying that it's the governing party's Cadre deployment policy, which has led rather to this energy crisis that we currently find ourselves in. But let me bring in then Joy Maimela. She speaks for the ANC Youth League task team. She's a coordinator there, and I suppose, Ms. Maimela, there is some kind of fear that this march by the DA and them coming here and you guys actually being here to defend Luthuli House may at some stage descend into chaos. What measures have you put in place?
Thank you very much, and good day and good morning to the viewers at home. Let me assure you that members of the ANC Youth League that are here have been addressed. We have conversed with them to say that we don't want any form of violence. We are not going to provoke the DA members that are coming here, and we're not expecting them to provoke anyone that is here. We don't want, and we're going to ensure that there is no form of violence, there is no beating of each other, and that is what we've said to the ANC Youth League members that are here today.
What do you think can be said as yourselves as the Youth League task team about how the ANC deploys in the government have been handling this energy crisis, which is why then some parties like the DA felt it necessary to come and protest here today?
Firstly, it is really cheap. For us, it's cheap politicking by the DA to come and march to the ANC headquarters. We believe that all of us are concerned with the energy crisis. It is a huge crisis. And the ANC Youth League has been very outspoken about the leader of the SOEs, the Minister of SOEs. We've spoken about the Reuters and the ESCOM board as far back as June last year, that we want them to resign, we want the board to be dissolved, and we want the president to appoint a competent board. And I think that has been done. However, we're still saying, and we've said it again, that we want the minister to be recalled, and we are hopeful that the president is going to do that. But the DA cannot behave as if we are not concerned as a party, and we've not said anything. We've kept quiet about the energy crisis. So they should be marching to ESCOM as opposed to this cheap politicking, them coming to Luthuli House.
Some could argue that also you as the ANC Youth League are not giving enough energy towards the president. For an example, he cancelled his trip to Davos and he's not even addressed the nation. At best, he spoke to the ANC in the Free State. So what was the point of the president then cancelling this trip if there isn't any kind of address to the nation, not just to ANC members, but the country as a whole?
The ANC president will address the nation when he has addressed the relevant parties or the relevant institutions, because when the president takes a podium and speaks to the nation, he's got to give them answers, and he's got to give coherent answers, comprehensive answers. So we believe that he is seized with the responsibility of engaging stakeholders. As you would have seen, that he engaged and he met with different political parties, different stakeholders. Even the ESCOM board came out to address the nation. Although we're not satisfied with what they've said, we don't believe and we don't agree that load shedding we should have load shedding in the next coming 2 years. We believe that they should come up with solutions that are at least within months that load shedding ends. We're not satisfied with what the ESCOM board has said, and we believe that the president will come out and will speak to the nation in due course.
All right, that's Joy Maimela Xoli. She's the ANC Youth League's national coordinator, the task team's national coordinator. I'll step out of shot to just quickly show you what things look like from our vantage point. The numbers are steadily increasing as we saw buses coming in, but we also saw, Xoli, interestingly, a DA bus just passing through not far from where we are, literally a few meters away, as they make their way to the Mary Fitzgerald Square. We're told by authorities here that they won't actually come to where we're standing, but a park nearby. And it's unclear whether or not then a memorandum will be handed over by the DA to the ANC officials here today.
Ngcobo, thank you very much for that update. Well, let's find out what the situation is with Mbali Thethani. Mbali, you are at the starting point of this march by the Democratic Alliance. The ANC already expressing its sentiment, at least the Youth League, saying that this is cheap politicking by the DA.
Well, that's certainly right, Xoli. We are indeed an hour away from seeing this march kick off, and I can tell you that hundreds of DA supporters and ordinary South Africans, of course, are here to show their dissatisfaction with the problems around load shedding in this country. And of course, this is as the DA takes this electricity crisis protest to the doorstep of the ANC. I'm just going to bring in now Natasha Mazzoni. She is a DA MP. Natasha, we just heard from the ANC saying, well, as much as we understand that there is a load shedding crisis, but this is rather cheap politicking from the DA. Is that so?
It certainly isn't cheap politicking. I think that, the fact that we have 8 hours a day now where we don't have electricity, we have been informed officially that we're in stage 2 and 3 load shedding for the next 2 or 3 years. It gives us a right as South Africans to be angry, and our constitution says that we show our anger in a peaceful and respectful manner through protest. And that's what you see here today. You see a gathering of DA members as well as South Africans who are peacefully protesting, going to the governing party saying we are not happy with this situation. The economy is completely collapsing. Crime is rapidly on the increase because of load shedding. We have job shedding because of the load shedding. And the ANC have to now sit around a table with opposition parties and listen to ideas that we have, because it's no good that we just talk. We have to present you with a plan, and the DA has a very good plan to solve the energy crisis. So what we're hoping today is absolutely no show of disrespect to anyone or any person, but there is no other way for us to get our message to the ANC but to go directly to them, peacefully, en masse, and say, here are our ideas, let us sit around a table, put ideology aside, let's put South Africa first, and let's see how we get ourselves out of this crisis.
But why not go to the highest office in the land to pass through your suggestions in terms of solving this energy crisis?
Because the highest office in the land is an office on its own. The presidency is an office on its own. The president changes regularly. So you can't see the presidency and the highest office as the governing party, because in 2024 they may not be the governing party. And that's why we are going to the headquarters of the governing party at present, to to hand over to them this memorandum and to say we respect the office of the presidency and we are coming to you as the ANC, who are the governing party, and we are saying to you, state capture happened under your watch, load shedding is happening under your watch, this increase in crime is happening under your watch, and we are calling on you to take firm and hard decisions together with other political parties to solve these issues.
Do you think that this protest will be successful in terms of trying to highlight the problems that we as a country face when it comes to load shedding, that also ultimately affects things like jobs and, various businesses?
Absolutely. I think you're going to see this protest, other protests happening around the country. As we go along closer to the election, you're going to see more and more protests. The key is protests must be peaceful. That's the key to it, because violence begets violence. And there's no point that we get violent and we try and hurt one another. That defeats the purpose. What we have to do now is act like South Africans and properly come together to solve the crises. So I think that today's protest is going to be the start of many actions that South Africans are going to take in the build-up to how we solve the many crises that we face as a country.
Are you not concerned at all that this protest can become violent, because we know that the ANC Youth League is outside Luthuli House and is protecting its headquarters?
I'm sure the ANC Youth League are there. I'm hoping that they realize that we come in peace. There is no need for violence. If we are not violent towards them, there's no reason for them to be violent towards us. We're not attacking Luthuli House. We're not intending to barge into Luthuli House. We are simply going there to talk to Luthuli House and members that are in Luthuli House. So there is no reason for violence, but I am confident that JMPD and other security forces have taken the necessary steps. DA members certainly know that we do not in any way condone any form of violence. So I'm hoping that the ANC Youth League realise that this is a peaceful protest and that they accept it in the good faith that it's intended.
All right, thank you very much. That is Natasha Mazoni, of course, DA MP, saying that as the DA, they come in peace. They don't intend on having any violence as they continue to take this protest to the doorstep of the ANC. I'm just going to step out of shot quickly, just ask my colleague Morena just to show you the various placards which many of the protesters here have in their hands. Some saying, "Save South Africa, vote out the ANC." Of course, a lot of them saying that enough is enough. And of course, we continue to see a number of them with various placards. There's also another interesting one here, also directed at the ANC, as you can see there, with the South African flag and, of course, that hashtag. At the same time, also more placards just talking directly to load shedding and saying that load shedding is indeed a problem. It is a problem of the ANC. I'm also then, Koli, just going to try and get various people who are here, those participating in this protest. Sir, if I can start off with you. You are here showing your stance against the current electricity crisis. How important is this protest to you?
Very important. Businesses are suffering with the load shedding. We just can't go on at stage 6. It is hurting the businesses, it's hurting our agriculture, and it's hurting the common man in the street, and that's the one we've got to think of. You know what? It's hurting the poor of the poor. If you've got meat in your fridge and you don't get your load shedding schedules right, and then it doesn't come back on, you lose your meat that you've got. So for the average Joe soap, it's a big problem. And yeah, that's why I'm here today. You know what? We all talk, no action. Today it's action.
And your name, sir, surname?
Stuart Murray. I'm a councillor at Johannesburg City.
All right, thank you very much. I'm also going to bring in a lady over here. You know, how does load shedding impact you? It impacts us all, very upset, but directly speaking to your problems, how does it impact you?
Well, it affects everything that we do. So you can't work, you've got to spend extra money providing your own private energy. A lot of people can't afford that. It also affects people in hospitals, it affects how you do business. You've got to plan your whole life around a fundamental constitutional right of having power. We're in the 21st century. It's ridiculous that this is where we've got to. How can we not keep the lights on? We will never get investment in this country. We will never grow anything. We will never get employment going. So, I mean, it impacts crime. It impacts everything on our lives.
And your name and surname, please?
My name's Nikki Ron. I'm a councillor in the city of Joburg as well. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, there, Luthuli, as you can hear, some of the councillors in the city of Johannesburg also just talking about, the impact of load shedding, the impact it has on investments. And you'd remember just last week we saw President Cyril Ramaphosa also then, retracting that statement that when he was supposed to take, our investment profile overseas, when he was supposed to, of course, go and attend the World Economic Forum. And of course, because due to the load shedding crisis, he then decided to halt that trip and not, of course, go and meet with various investors and those in the economy throughout the world. But at the same time there, Oli, as you can see here, a number of people have made their way attending this protest, and they are showing their stance and their protest against the electricity crisis that we continue to face as a country.
Mbali, Thethani, live for us at the Mary Fitzgerald Square. That's the start of this march by the DA to the ANC's head offices. Let's take you to the northwest.